Well, hello and good morning, and welcome to today's webinar on Church360 Ledger. We are calling this Better Understand Your Church's Income and Expenses with Church360 Ledger. My name is Stephen Jenkins, and I have been with Concordia Technology Solutions as a software consultant for 5.5 years. I enjoy speaking with you on a daily basis and helping you meet your church's needs with our church management software. And today I am very happy and blessed to be joined by Ken Olemeyer, who is one of our senior marketing managers here at Concordia Publishing House. Ken is actually going to lead this webinar I'm just hosting, and he's actually tasked with taking us through Church360 Ledger and showing us all the great features that come with the software. Doing a little housekeeping before we jump in, we have 50 minutes for this presentation, and we'll reserve 10 minutes for questions afterwards. But please don't wait until the end. As questions arise, Ken may answer them as he's presenting, but as you think of a question, go ahead and write it in the chat box. If it's not covered during the presentation, we will get to it at the end. Now, if you need to step away, go ahead and do so, because this live webinar will be recorded and we will share it with all the attendees. A little bit about Concordia Technology Solutions. We are the church administration division of Concordia Publishing House. We've been developing software for churches ever since 1984. Now, more on Ledger. Ledger is actually a part of our Church360 suite, which is 3 separate products that all come together to work together. We also have Church360 Members, which is our administrative tool. And we have Church360 Unite, which is our website builder for churches. More on Ledger. It's church finance software. It's extremely user-friendly and intuitive, extremely secure. We use SSL encryption for our products. It's the same that banks use for the protection of their sites, and it's extremely secure, so secure that usernames and passwords that you create for your account, they don't even flow back to us. So it's very, very secure. And we have it focused on the church. You know, church accounting principles are different from the accounting principles as a bank or a business, should I say. Churches use double entry fund-based accounting, and that's how we have modeled our software. In preparation for today's webinar, we've come up with a couple of assumptions. We are first assuming that you are somewhat familiar with church finances and that you're new to Church360 Ledger, and that again, you're extremely busy. Again, we do appreciate your time here and welcome everyone here. For the outline of today's webinar, we're going to touch on the goals of Church360 Ledger and tour the software. And then again, we'll reserve the last 10 minutes to handle your questions and answers. Now, what are the goals of Church360 Ledger? Well, church finances are often managed by volunteers, and these volunteers are not accountants. So accountability is extremely important within the church. And so our software is designed to prevent the ill intention from doing wrong things and the well intention from making mistakes. And we're all human, we make mistakes sometimes. And so our software is designed to minimize those. Now, Church360 Ledger was designed to increase accountability, and it was designed to prevent those mistakes that we sometimes make. Now, in our tour of this software, we're going to touch on a chart of accounts and budgeting, transactions with the credits and debits, and reconciliation, and we'll wrap up with reports. So with that, I'm going to turn over the controls to Ken, and he's going to jump into the software and get us started.
All right, well, thank you, Stephen. I'm waiting for my webcam to come up. I'm having a little bit of some connection issues, but hopefully we can get through this without any problem. As Stephen said, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to try my webcam again. So thank you for joining us. My name is Ken Olemeyer. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at CPH, one of a few of us here. And I just want to put this straight to you. I am not an accountant by any means. Stephen and the Concordia Technology Solution team have been working with this particular software for many years. You know, I'm still relatively new at it. And I'm a marketing guy. I mean, that's what I am. I'm a marketing guy, not an accountant. So, but that's one of the reasons why I really like to share this with you. And actually, I'm just going to go straight to sharing my screen so that I can share this with you. So whether or not my webcam is up or not, okay, let me get the screen. All right, again, I apologize. Just having some issues. There I am. There I am. We're having some issues with the technology on the internet connection here already. So let me open up my screen. And as I said, I'm a marketing guy. I'm not an accountant. And that's one of the reasons why I really like to share this with you. Because as Stephen said, a lot of times when we have volunteer situations within our churches, we may not have accountants available to work with us. So you may have somebody who has just a basic knowledge of accounting principles, maybe that took a class in college or something like that. But this is where Church360 Ledger can be so powerful and so easy for you to use. And that's one of the reasons I like to share it. If I can do this software, you can do this as well. Now, let me ask you a question about your month end. You know, we're still a couple weeks away from month end, but how many of us really look forward to it? You know, is it stressful for you? Do you ever feel like you're behind in what you've been reporting and that you have to just kind of dig into it, or do you just breeze through it? You know, how can Church360 Ledger help you understand your church's income and expenses? And that's what we're going to focus on a little bit today as we go through this general overview. You know, for many people, the fact that, you know, closing your financial books each month can be a very, very stressful time. If you work in the church, it's stressful. If you're a volunteer, helping the church can be stressful. It's certainly not glamorous, but it is definitely something we all need to do. So how can Church360 Ledger make that easier for you? You know, one of the things I do in my job as a senior marketing manager here is I talk with a lot of church leaders. I talk with pastors and I talk with administrators. And one of the things I constantly hear over and over again is we want to keep our church financially secure and sustainable and be good stewards of any funds that we have. You know, just as a quick aside, I've been talking to a lot of churches these days as it relates to COVID and the pandemic and the shutdowns and things like this. And one of the things I ask is, how have your offerings been? How have your tithes? And I'm happy to report that so far what I'm hearing is a lot of churches are staying stable, or some have even increased. And I pray that's the case for you as well. And this is why Church360 Ledger is so important, especially during these days, is trying to make sure that we're keeping track of all these different things. So we're going to look at the software from just a 360 degree view, very high, and take a look at 360, 30,000 foot view, and take a look at it from high above and just do a quick overview. We're not going to be able to cover everything today. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the software itself, some of the different features in it. We'll talk about income and expenses, things like this. We'll look at how the software is arranged. But the key is looking at how simple this is, and then knowing how, because it's so simple, this is going to free you up to do other ministries and other things that are very important to you. And again, if you're a volunteer, it's not going to be one of these type of things that's going to be so taxing on you that you have to be doing this all day long. If you're following and keeping track of things, you can do this right away. One of the things that's great about this software too is a lot of software like this has a lot of manual input. There's so much of Church360 Ledger that gets input behind the scenes. And it's somewhat foolproof, as Stephen mentioned, the whole idea that we do keep track of things in this software all the way through. So there's not a lot of chance to really mess things up. It will keep track of things for you. So we got a lot to cover, so let's jump in right now. Everybody's seeing my screen. I don't know if you're seeing me or not. That's okay. I want to make sure you're seeing my screen. So I keep bouncing in and out my screen, my webcam. And again, it's because of the connection. Hopefully you're going to be able to see everything on the screen. In fact, what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing my webcam so I can make sure that you're seeing what is needed here on the screen itself. So I'm stopping that so that we don't have that issue. So when you open up your Church360 Ledger, you'll be at this home screen, and it seems like a lot of information here, but it really is an effective dashboard and a snapshot of everything. And one of the things that's very important to keep in mind is how to understand your church's income and expenses and closing your books each month to make sure that you're gathering the right information. And maybe that includes things like your revenue totals or your bank account information, or maybe it's your petty cash fund information, or things like financial statements, balance statements, sometimes your fixed assets. You want to make sure you're keeping track of that. It could be, as we're going to talk about today, your income and expense account information, and then kind of that general ledger that you need to be keeping aware of. Whatever you need to keep track of your income plus expenses and to close your books smoothly, Church360 Ledger has it ready for you. So let's get started. I want to show you some of the navigational tools right now. So if you start at the top, and you should see my cursor there moving, the $ here is your home button. You can click on it anywhere in the software to go back home, and you'll see me do that quite a bit as we go through this today. The next is this drop-down menu right here, and you see when I click on it, it opens up various books that we have. Now, books are used to organize your transactions that may have completely different accounts and income sources. Most churches probably will only require one church book in Church360 Ledger, but this is what's great. You can make different books for your church, for your school, for specific groups like men's club. You see my men's ministry right there, my mission and outreach. You could do one for your youth group, or even let's say you have 2 different campuses. You could put one in for your other campus and keep track of how the 2 different campuses are getting their income or expenses. And we'll get more into books a little bit later here. If I keep moving over to the right, you see this first icon here is the print button. If I click into this, it opens up the different things that I have in my print queue. And from here, I can check and print one check at a time, or I can go up here and I can click and print multiple checks at a time. So that's where my print queue comes in. You can also print things like your general ledger or your income and expenses or your chart of accounts. And we'll get into some of these before, but if I were to go into my income and expenses, you can see that I can also print from there. And each of these reports then will open up in a new tab and open up as a print preview if you were to hit print. But you're also in these type of views, you're able to export to Excel. And this allows for much more customized charts and graphs and really being able to incorporate your ledger and reports or year-end statements. Basically what we do here within the Church360 suite is we give you a lot of the different building blocks to be able to customize some of these things straight to your congregational needs. So that's where some of the ability to come back and do the customized charts and graphs really is helpful. The next thing you see here is pending transactions. In fact, I'm just going to click on my home screen just to go back to that and then click on to pending transactions. Again, this is very straightforward. Many of these are imported from somewhere else. They could be checks or deposits, or if you're with Church360 members or other services we integrate with, maybe some of your deposits will be in there. Stephen and the CTS crew can give you much more, fuller details on the different other services we integrate with or how this could be working for you. But it gives you a list of recent payments and deposits made. You see these payments here, and you're able to drill down on here just right from the home page. So if I click into one of these, I can go in and I can drill down and actually see what that payment was made for. And then there's a little X arrow here that I'm going to click off and get off of there. The next icon is our book of reports. And this lets you see all the possible reports we currently have. And I'll go into each of these in a little more detail, but I want to just highlight it and show you where they are. But we have our general ledger, we have our income and expenses, we have our chart of accounts, we have our balance sheet. These are really the four main reports that are on this. But you also see on here the event log. And this basically tracks all the steps or changes or events that have gone on within the software. This is really great for auditing purposes. So if I click into there, you see all the different times we've gotten into the software, we've done different types of things. You can see new transactions, revisions of transactions, you see payees, etc. This is really great for auditing purposes. And as Stephen says, it really kind of keeps track of ill-intentioned or the well-intentioned as well. I'm going to click back here on my $ and just go back to home, just to keep everything clean. The next thing you see is this cog or this wheel here. And this is the setting menu, and it's divided into two different sections here. You see the line separating the two. But the top section, you see things like your chart of accounts, you see your budgets, fiscal years, recurring transactions, imported transactions. Everything below the line then are other things like the general accounts that you have, or the general sections here. Let me just click into that, general settings, I'm sorry. And then things like users and roles and books and payees. I love pointing out things like roles, because within Church360 Ledger, you can designate which users have access to what. And this is a great way to ensure that the right people have access to just what they need. So for instance, if VBS time rolls around and you want to give access to some of our VBS leaders, you can provide a role for them in here. But you can see things like administrator applies to all the books. My financial secretary, I have them just going to my Christ community, and VBS leader. And I can go down there and add a new role or administrator as well. Final one in there is payees, and this just kind of lists all the different payees that we have here. It's very simple to add a new payee as well. I also mentioned adding books before and showing you the different books that we have. It's very, very simple to add a book. You just click into that from your cogwheel. You see books, and then I just click add new one. And maybe for this, maybe I do want to just add VBS. So I'm just going to click into here, VBS volunteers. And then I can click whatever starting month, if it's a fiscal year, I can do that. And then just add a new one. And I have a new book that has just been added to there. Oh, I need to submit, sorry. Let me go to VBS. And I'm just going to hit submit. Oh, now see, this is where I'm showing you. A lot of times you can see that it does keep you track. So I'm going to click off of that. My fiscal year is there. I'm hitting submit. Okay, I'm having some issues here, even just with my internet connection. So again, I apologize for that. But let's keep moving on. The final thing you see here is your user settings. Very simple, very straightforward. I won't go through that. Last few things I want to click in here and talk about is you see this omnibar search that goes directly to different sections. So I can go into here and just start typing things. If I want to type my assets, I can do that. If I want to type in liabilities, I can type that and it'll start popping up. If there are things that I just want to check into, maybe pastor, I can look at the salaries and benefits, other things that I've actually designated. But you can do like asset pages, which are your current or fixed items, your congregation owns, like the money, the buildings, land, equipment, etc. Or like I said, expenses, which would be money spent on salaries, things like that. Your liabilities pages, the sources of your debt, making sure you're keeping those short-term and long-term sources of debt, or specific categories that you put in there. Then next to that, and we'll get into these in depth a little bit later, but you see new transaction, and I'm just going to drop down on there. And you see just right off your home screen, you can do things like a new transaction, a transfer, or a deposit, or a payment, or writing a check or a journal entry. And like I said, we'll go back into those as we go through this presentation. The final thing is just the dashboard itself. And this gives the entire program to provide a glimpse for you. And if you're like me, I'm a very visual person. I need to see things visually. So you see this chart, and you can just click through it and see different dates that pop up and where our running balance at the time was. You can go into assets, you can click into these and start digging further into it. You can go into any one of these, click in, and it digs deep further for you. So it's just a great way to have everything right at your fingertips. But there are going to be those times where you're going to have a question or two. And I want to point something out to you. You notice here at the bottom right-hand corner where my mouse is going, you see a little circle I right there. This is a information button for you. So anytime you're on any one of these screens, if you come up with a question or you're looking to do something, you can go in here and you can actually type in a search term and it will pop up any suggested articles for you, or you can go in and actually send us a message. And if you send us a message, you just put your subject line in here and the information you want to find. And I just ask to try to provide as much information as you possibly can right off the bat so we can help answer those questions the very first time we have some contact with you. We don't mind going back and forth and trying to answer things. We just want to make it simple for you and get you the answers you need right away. The other thing too, you can always call us at 800-346-6120. We have staff that is available here to help support you on this. I always tell people, I said, yeah, there's nothing more frustrating than having a brand new piece of technology or new software and trying to understand it and trying to learn it. This has a very quick learning curve for you, but there are going to be those times where you may need answers to your questions. We have a complete resource center for you as well that you can look up and get some training on. So what are some of the items if we think about month-end closing with checklists? Well, one of the first things to make sure that we're recording all of our incoming cash, whether it's revenue coming in through offerings and tithes or maybe loan payments, whatever or wherever your income comes from each month. And these could be transfers between accounts, or they could be deposits or payments. And let's just start with the drop-down list and show how easy it is to record our new transactions. So I'm going to go over here to new transaction. And as I said before, when you drop it down, you see transfer, deposit, you see payments, you see check, you see journal entry. So let's start with the transfer. Let's start thinking about some moving some money between our accounts. So if I click into transfer, these can only occur between an asset to an asset, or a liability to a liability, maybe our income to income, or an expense to an expense account. And because we want to talk about income and expenses today, let's do this as an income to income. So first you see this memo line right here, and you can just type in, this is optional for you, but you can type in anything that you want to say. So let's just say deposit, again, just to make this quick. And then you see that the date became pre-populated. It became populated to today's date. But I can move that date to a different date, and I can change that. So maybe this actually came in at the 1st of September. Then I said here that it can be an income to income, asset, expense, income, or liability. So let's make this an asset. Asset. Well, let's do this. Let's go savings account. I'm sorry. Let's go that way. And the amount, just something simple, $30. But you just see I'm going through and I'm doing this. And I'm going to put this into there. So an asset to asset, and then hit save. And there are different ways I could do that. My transaction was created. Again, if I had done it incorrectly, it would pop up showing me that it was not in a general accounting principle, but you see then it is immediately brought down to my general ledger right here as well. So let's go with this. Again, if I do another transfer, it's a good idea to double check these type of things, because if we needed to verify this, we can go in and make the edits, and it would automatically create a journal entry into my general ledger. And this is just so much easier than making sure you're keeping track of everything. I mean, we know you're busy just in your general job. having to keep track of all this type of thing makes it even easier for you to do it through Ledger. Now let's think about deposits. I go back in here and I love deposits. That means we're adding money to our accounts, such as checking or savings account. And yeah, it's all the income that we need here. So assets and income accounts are really the only ones that have deposits recorded. So this is very similar to when I'm making a transfer. It's the same type of thing. We have our memo line right here. We have our date here. And again, I can move this date to future dates, or I can move it to my past dates. I'm just gonna keep it on today's date. Do that. And then we have an optional payee. So this is also optional here, but let's say I'm doing this to Missouri Department of Revenue, let's say. Again, out of my savings account. So I'm doing this from an asset, just typing quickly to my general fund. Now see, this is not going to work for me, and I'll show you how. Yep, that did. So that went into my savings account, payee from the Missouri Department of Revenue. So these are great. So I can hit verify and I can hit save, and like I said, I can easily go back and change this. I'm going to go back in and make the change here. And I see all the different deposits that I've made within my general fund. So if needed be, we can also go back in and void and copy that. Or yeah, void and copy. So let's go into our payments. So in Church360 Ledger, payments are used to enter electronic transactions. And this can be either online or electronic payments. And with payments, only assets, liability, or expense accounts can be used. And again, this is very similar to the other Ledger transactions. And you're seeing as I'm jumping into these new transactions, they're all pretty much the same type of thing. It's just, we try to simplify a lot of this for you so that you're not spending a lot of extra time on this. So you can go into payment, you have your optional memo line again, you have your date, you have your optional payee. So on this one, let's say I've got to do my lawn and landscaping. And again, I'm just going into my savings account, but you see all the different, I'm going to click onto that, sorry. Click into there, but I was going to scroll down. You see all the different types of things that are here. So maybe this one I just did on the church credit card, and it was $200. And I'm going to put that to our building. No, I'm going to do that to church maintenance and grounds. Now, I also have the option to add other payees on this as well, or make this reoccurring. And then you see how it's reconciled below, and I hit save. And again, the transaction was created there. So I'm going to click back another so we get a broader view of everything. And then the final example on this, on the new transactions I want to show you, is just getting into checks. And this can be used for printing paper checks or even recording handwritten checks that you've written. We love this so that you can put all this into the print queue and print out all your checks and do that very simply. But let's just show an example of this. So let's say that in the memo line, we're going to order another case of the One and All Rejoice hymnal. So I'm just going to put in here new One and All Rejoice hymnals. This might be something that we need here. I'm going to do it. Actually, I'm going to do this. Let's put this ahead. So we're going to do this on the 18th. That invoice is due, let's say. And we're going to do this to Columbia Publishing House. We're going to put in our check number. And this could be either one that is a pre-printed check number, or it could be putting in a check that we've written by hand. Asset or liability, we're just going to put this just straight from our unrestricted checking account. And let's say this $360. We're getting a bunch of them. Whoop, I'm not going to scroll down to my next one. And then expense or liability. Let's look at this and say this is We'll put this to our Sunday school ministry there. And then we've got our bank account. You see kind of how the check is listed there. And then I just hit save. All right, and you see up at the top, it says my check was added to our print queue. So let's just take another look at that. I have another number here. So that shows me I've got an additional print queue, and there it is right there. New one and all rejoice. Okay, yeah, and I had it for the 18th of September. So if I need to look at that, I can just do that, and I can print that check right from there. If I hit the print button, what it will do is show me how this is going to print out. And again, if you have a pre-printed check form, it can be set to that form. You see our church name is in here. You see the memo line, everything else. Again, anybody who does anything within your own personal finances or within a business finance, this is all pretty standard to you. And then the last thing within here in the new transaction is our journal entry. And I want to show that to you as well. And here is where you can make those corrective entries. So let's say if as you're balancing your items, you notice that a payment or other transaction might just be off by a few dollars. Maybe there's bank fees or interest payments or things like that that you need to reconcile. Here you can do a journal entry to change that account information. And journal entries can actually be used for all different account types. So again, this is very, very simple to do. You can add the memo line, which is optional. Maybe it's a bank service fee. You can put the date. The payee would be optional as well. Let's see if I have my central bank in here, or maybe it goes into my my insurance, my account. Do that. And maybe there was a $20 fee that we didn't pick up the first time. And then I can hit either make reoccurring or save. Again, on these journal entries, it may not be reoccurring for you, but let's just hit save. Now, this is great. This is where it shows where I'm making mistakes. Transaction not be created because must have at least 2 valid line items. So I need to go in here and put another line item, and maybe it's from there. So there you go. So as you go through these type of things, you'll see that if you're making mistakes, if you're maybe going a little too fast, or you're just getting them into the wrong area or whatever, the software will alert you to those type of things. And then you can easily go back in and make that corrective measure. Again, this is so handy when you're going through and doing a lot of different things. And if I go in here to my event log, you see that everything we were just doing was recorded there. Again, for auditing, that is fantastic. Let me just go back to the dashboard too while we're here. And this, as I said, gives a very quick overview of the different sections. Or you can go in for a deep dive. And it's all at your fingertips wherever you have an internet connection. Something to think about too with this, because this is web-based and because you can give different permissions and roles, you can use this software on your PC or on your Mac. And that's very convenient too. There might be times, especially if you have volunteers, where they're not going to come into the church office and they may need to be making transactions, or they may be making journal entries at their home. They can access this off of the web through Church360 Ledger, and they can do it in the comfort of their own home. They can do it in a comfortable chair with the laptop. They can do it sitting at a coffee or at the kitchen table with a coffee. They can do it anywhere. So the dashboard here gives you a quick overview and a deep dive. And when I want to drop down my home menu here, I can do two things. I can just click like that, or click into it, see my assets, my liabilities, my income and expenses. I'm able to export this to Excel. And if I click open that, let's see, that's going to open up my other window, but let me bring it over. You can just see when I open it up in Excel then, and how quick that is, everything is right there for me. And as I said, I can use this for reporting. This is very helpful if you've got to give reports to your church council or to your elders or anyone who needs a reporting on all this. You can easily do it through your export feature. You can also look at certain range. So there's a drop-down menu here where I can go in and I can check the year. I can look at quarters, or I can look at specific months and ranges of months, or I can even actually customize a specific range to look at as well. And again, that's very helpful as you go through this. If I go back to this top icon of my general ledger, it lists all my transactions, and I want to go through some of these. So this lists all of the transactions and changes made across all my different accounts in my Church360 Ledger. And when I change books, I kind of change the view on some of these too. So through the demo here, if I were to click into a new book, I'm just going to reload. Again, I apologize for some of the internet connectivity issues I'm having today. But if I click into here and I'm in my general ledger, let's see if I've got anything listed in some of the other ones, but it will tell me, okay, there aren't enough line items there to give me a graph. I don't have anything in there in my school. And I may not have anything in these other demo books as well too. But as you change your views, you would get different views. Now, there's a lot of different ways to customize this general ledger report as well. Oop, need to go back to my church. So we can, again, do the dates. We can do the type. So if I go through to my chart right here, I can customize this by just looking at, you know, maybe all the what that I've got in my payees. Let me go back to my home menu. I can change the dates. I can look at the types. I can go from a single payee to multiple payees. I can go by different accounts. I can even group it by accounts. And then I can export that into Excel and print that as well. When I want to do something with my income and expenses, click into that. And this provides a summary of my income, which is all my revenue, my offerings, my interest, my rental income, etc., or my expenses, you know, the spending that we're doing, the salaries, the materials, the utilities. And I can do this by account as well. So this displays a breakdown and compares your actual versus your budget. And then I can also go into my percent of budget and remaining as well. So the percent of budget just compares the actual to the budget as a percentage, and the remaining shows the difference, obviously. What I like about this view as well, I can have these click down boxes or click up boxes, and I can show as much detail as I need to see. Maybe I just need a top line right there. But I can also then go into it and take a look or simplify my view as well. If I go into my chart of accounts, this is kind of the collection of everything that I have. This shows a summary of the changes to assets, to liability, to my income and expenses over a given time frame. So this report actually will give you a picture of your church's overall financial standing. And as we said early on, you know, one of the things that all churches really strive to be are good stewards of the gifts that God gives us. So this is a great way to really take a look at it and see it right off the bat. And you have a variety of columns here as well. Your name, you have your starting balance, your ending balance, your debits, your credits, your change, plus or minus, and your change percentage. So all of these are based on selected ranges. And then again, we can print that, we can export it to Excel, and it's all right there at your fingertips. The final one in these different books is my balance sheet. And this gives a summary of all our assets and liabilities. So the assets less liabilities provides a picture of our church's equity. And there's a variety of columns here as well. We have our date selection, so we can go back through, as I said, we can do quarters, we can do specific months. It's all right there, or we can do a specific range of dates. And we have a variety of columns. So there's a date selection, there's the starting balance, there's the ending balance, and again, these are based on our specific date ranges. There's our debits, there's our credits, there's our change plus or minus, and there's our change percent. And then the assets less the liabilities here at the bottom just displays those differences for us. So that becomes running as we go through it. And again, I have these drop-down menus here that I can click into and get as much or as little detail as I need. So a lot of times when we're thinking about month end and we're thinking about that income and expenses, we've got to reconcile those accounts. So let's just take a quick look now at how to reconcile your accounts. So I've taken us back through the dollar sign, back to our home screen. And when we get to the home screen, all we've got to do here now is click into our assets. So I click into this, and you see I'm starting to drill down, and my screen is changing with each time that I click. And I continue clicking through until I reach the account that I want to reconcile. So I'm going to hit that again, and there's my account right there. So for example, I want to do my checking account. I click on it again, and I see savings or checking account. And as I said, I want to do the checking account. And then you notice at the top here, a couple different things. I had a VBS, an unrestricted one, and I have a VBS account. And I want to reconcile these. So I just click the green button that says reconcile. And in the pop-up window here, you see your starting and your ending balances. So you see right here, the 36,825, 39,921, 42. And you see I'm off right here by 775. All I've got to do is go through and mark the transactions and just click through there. I'm just gonna take all these off right now, but I can filter through and get to the point where I'm reconciled. And then when I do that, I'll show it'll be off by 0, and then I'll select and save that. And I'm not going to go through the whole time of doing this right now, just for the sake of time, and so that we have time for some questions and answers for you. But I'm going to click off of that. And I know I've shown this a couple times, but we really do feature this because for reportings and such, the event log. And this is just keeping everything in one simple, easy to find, trackable place. It gives us the variety of information here. I can show different users, who is doing what. I can also show the different types. Maybe I don't need that. Maybe I just want to see reconciliation. And when I click in there, I can show the final reconciliations. I reconciled 7 items for checking account. I can go back through very easily to dig down. I can find that reconciliation. I can print it. I can export it to Excel. I have all of this at my fingertips. So I'm going to start wrapping up here. I'm going to see if I can get my webcam back on. And it's not. I apologize. My webcam is just absolutely spinning. So how do you think you'd use Ledger? Yeah, as you can see here, Church360 Ledger is a pretty powerful and a pretty intuitive tool. And it's just that. It's a tool. A lot of it has to do with the people that are inputting the data and how well you keep your records and things of that nature. But it's an easy to use tool that will give you a lot of extra time to do other things. Just imagine how you might use it and what it could free you up to do in other ministries. And I always think about this as, we give presentations or we introduce new software and things of this nature. There are usually 2 types of people who will take the time to watch presentations like this. It's those who will just, do nothing. I watched it, okay, I got some information, but you just keep using the same tools that you've always used and you keep getting the same results. Or there are those who might watch something like this and maybe one or two questions popped up, or you started seeing the possibilities of what you could do with this tool, and you've seen it in practice, and you think, okay, I need to do this. I need to try it. Well, one of the things that's great about Church360 Ledger is you can try this software for free for 37 days and see if at the end of that 37 days you're saving time and you're maybe being a little more accurate in what you're doing by using Ledger. So this is a great time to take advantage of that 37-day trial and see if it might be helpful. Yeah, as I said, there's so much you can do with Church360 Ledger. In this overview webinar, we just began to scratch the surface. In fact, again, I kind of apologize that there was some issues technically that I'm having that prevented some of going in even deeper. But I want to make sure that you at least get the overview and you see some of the things that you can do with this, and you start thinking about it, and you start maybe asking some of those questions. We've got a full team of support here that is ready to help you with any of those type of questions and ready to get you up and running with this software. And we do offer more of these type of sessions where we can dig a little deeper. Today was kind of just looking at income and expenses, but we've done others where we really do get into digging into the closing at the end of the month. We really do get into, how to, put in certain, assets that you get and how to deal with that from a financial standpoint. So be looking for those type of announcements coming up. We send a lot of these out via email. So if you're not signed up right now for our emails, please be sure to sign up for our emails. If you do currently have our emails coming, be on the lookout for those, and please keep those in your inbox so that you can see those. Really, though, I want to thank you for attending and thank you for taking some time out of your day today to be able to watch this with us. And if you're not watching this live and you're catching this on the re-recording, thank you as well. We are here anytime for you. If you have questions, if we can be of further help, please don't hesitate to contact anyone at Concordia Technology Solutions to help answer those questions. I know it sounds corny, but solutions is in the name. So we want to make sure that you get the solution you need. So Stephen, I am going to try to turn it back over to you and see if your connection is any better.
All right, let's see.
All right. Okay, so I need to change the presenter to you. I'm going to do that.
Okay, I started
Yeah.
showing my screen again. Now my webcam isn't working either, but we'll just we'll push through. We're pretty much at the end here. So great news, Ken. You did an awesome job because there are no questions at all. But what I want to take this opportunity to do is kind of go through some common questions I receive about Church360 Ledger. And one of them is asking about how it syncs or the relationship between Ledger and the other products in the Church360 suite. Well, in Church360 members, which we conducted a webinar on earlier this week, you use that software to enter in your contributions received at your events. Now, the totals for each fund received for those events sync automatically over to Ledger. And so you're able to take it to the next level where you're recording transactions and keeping up with your budgets and your accounts in Ledger. Another question I often hear as well is concerning the security, and again, it's SSL encryption that we use. So it's extremely protected, and again, usernames and passwords that you set up for your software, they don't even come back to us. So we can't get into your software without you letting us in. Another question is concerning books. And we know that there are various churches that have separate entities like a daycare or maybe even a school, and they like to keep their finances separate from the church's finances. And so you are able to enter in as many different books as you like. And even with that, with the security and the software, you're able to assign certain individuals the rights to record transactions for specific books. But prevent those individuals from seeing the other books. So a lot of customers definitely love that feature as well. Okay.
Yeah, I really
So
like the fact that you can do different books like that. I think that being able to separate some of those funds and not just get them all into the same pot sometimes is pretty convenient.
absolutely, absolutely. Now you should see my screen here encouraging you to start a 37-day free trial at 360ledger.com. Why 37 when the other products allow 30 days? Well, it's because it's financial software. So we want to give you an entire month, 30 days to enter in your transactions, and then take that final 7 days, that final week to review that information and just see how much of a benefit it will be to use this software. So again, 360ledger.com is the website you can go to start your free trial. All right. So what I'm going to do is bring up the contact information again. So mine is on the left, my email address, stephen.jenkins@cph.org. On the right is the email address to our software sales team. So it's software sales at cts.cph.org. Please utilize these email addresses should you have any additional questions for those who are watching right now live or anyone who reviews the recording later on. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out and we'll definitely take care of you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up a little early, unless Ken, you have more to share.
Well, I have one quick question for you, Stephen. I referenced the resource center. Do you
Yes.
have that URL handy so that if people want to go back and take a look at some of the training that we have, and we have a lot of other training available on Church 360 Ledger, where would
Mhm.
people go to find that?
The fastest way to get there is just to go straight to our website, concordiatechnologysolutions.org. In the top right, you will see a box that says Resource Center. If you click there, it will open up a new tab and you're able to hover over the word software and navigate between the options. Once you click an option, for example, Church 360 Ledger, you'll be taken to all of the videos that we have so far, and we have a plethora of them. So in addition to being able to reach out to our support team right through the software by clicking on the I within that circle at the bottom right side of the screen, you're able to access our videos. They're absolutely free to watch as well. But good question, Ken.
Yeah, it always seems that you have that question after work or when you're trying to do it late at night. So it's
Mhm.
good to have those other resources available.
Absolutely. And if anyone has any trouble finding that, again, utilize these email addresses, say, hey, help me, and we'll send a link directing you straight to the videos for the particular product you're interested in learning more about. Okay. So we're just going to take this opportunity, Ken and I, to thank everyone who has joined in. We hope to hear from you very soon. We hope to see a lot of starts of trials for those who have not had the opportunity to work with the software so far. And you know, again, on behalf of Ken, this is Stephen Jenkins. We want to say thank you for tuning in, and everyone have a wonderful and blessed day.